It's screwing the youth, they're screwing the youth, they're breaking the youth, they're lying to people through the media. I'm making up the words. I've been fooled before, but now I know. Difference between believing in something in somebody's soul. Burns fire, burns like fire, fire, fire. Oh. Youth just do something, y'all broken them, made them Manchurian candidates. Babylon control, political mind control. They're breaking the youth, they're making Manchurian candidates because they made the Department of Education Prussian model. Mike, who's this? Mike, I love this man. Babylon control. Welcome to Babylon. Friends, Romans, Babylonians, colonizers, lend me your ears. The looting did not start. What was that? What was that post? The looting did not start last week. If you think the looting started last week, you're not paying attention. Good morning, everybody. The looting damn near started, well, at least it started 3 months ago. But then you got the 1913 people that started 1913, and then you got the 1871 people started 1871. But there's always some looting. But remember, looting is only looting if they don't have billions of dollars in the bank. If they got billions of dollars in the bank, it's called a market. It's not looting. Good morning, everybody. I need to talk about Manchurian candidates. Is my voice already gone? It's the pollen, Christine. Oh, it's killing me. It's killing me. I got my green tea, and some days I'm drinking green tea like some of y'all drink alcohol in a shutdown. I'm watching my friends just drinking that alcohol in the videos, wearing less and less clothing, combing their hair, brushing their teeth less and less. But the lockdowns are coming down, but they about to go back up because somebody's calling the National Guard in. And I think it's time we get a little serious. Yeah, we gotta throw some bows. Laugh and enjoy while you do it, but you gotta tell people the truth. Why? Because kids are out there dying on them streets, and they're beating up and probably killing business owners too. And it's time for adults to make some sense of this nonsense, all right? Our kids are Manchurian candidates. That's what I'm gonna talk about today. We did this, and it all started in Prussia. And I need to link it together with a few other things from some very wise people. All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Anybody disagree with that the looting didn't start 3 months ago on Wall Street? It did not start on Minnesota streets. I know we think it did. It did not start on Minnesota streets. It started on Wall Street. We just didn't call it looting. They got away with trillions of dollars. People down the street only getting away with iPhones and boxes of dresses. Okay? And all of that was stolen anyway. But I'm not pro-looter. No, stop that. Don't go there with me. Woo! All right, let's bring it down. Let's calm down. How's everybody doing this morning? Y'all doing good today? Hopefully everybody is proud of their ancestors, proud of their cultures, and they're starting to question whether or not the idea that you're supposed to beat yourself with a pain stick because other people who want to control you to tell you that you need to hate your own skin, and you don't hate your own skin, it's just some damn skin. All it's there for is solar radiation for your vitamin D3, ain't got nothing to do with no damn thing. You got psychopaths in every single shade and all kinds of fur. Good morning, everybody, which we do need to talk about the warrior genes too. So there's a couple things we got to talk about today, link it all back together. But the kids are Manchurian candidates. They've always been a cell, and now they're just being activated. You can blame them if you want to, if that's where you resonate. Me, I like to try to keep my integrity best I can. Why I don't join anybody's team? I'm not interested. Nope, sorry. Can you guys? No, nope. I like to speak about things that are truthful in a truthful way. And if it hurts your feelings, I'm sorry. Not here to hurt your feelings. Team. I'm not interested. But kids are dying on the street. You got nope. I like to speak about. I hate my voice. My goodness. I have to go to the video on YouTube to edit it, and every time I do that in the morning, my voice comes until I hit the edit button. I can't stand my voice. Good morning, everybody. Woo! All right, let me bring YouTube into the conversation, and then we shall get to going. Manchurian candidates. We did this to the kids. They did not do it to themselves. But besides the fact, you're not being governed. You don't have a government. You're not being governed. We need to stop pretending that we're governed. I had to get on I got to come up with different names for people. The darker melanin Moors. I got to get on them a little bit because, first of all, the darker melanin Moors, some of y'all will call them the black elite at the top. They have no love in their heart, just like the purple elite, like the green elite, like the yellow elite, like the white. Trust me, I know. I grew up with the darker melanin Moors in the Washington, D.C. area, the judges and bankers and everybody in bed with the Clintons and the crime bills when they decided to not make Black Lives Matter and beat the Republican at republicanism, all right, or what it was at the time with Reagan. And that's why the lives don't matter. So, but the kids don't know a lot of this. And so a lot of my belief system is that you don't blame children for adult problems. You don't blame children for adult problems. Now, you can't stand by and watch them burning down businesses and beating up old people just trying to go to work because they got the wrong skin color for the moment of the time. But we have to accept our responsibility in all of this. We got to accept our responsibility. We can't just sit back and blame children like we're immature. We did this. We did this. We did this. We did this. And we're the ones who are deciding to keep it. All right. First of all, would nobody be out there looting no damn street if people had two things? Two. So all it takes is two things. And your government ain't never going to give it to them. Not willingly, because it's not a government. It's a for-profit corporation which started in 1871. They got to do things that are for profit. And what's for profit is never ending the slave plantation. Two things. Water is life. Land is freedom. If you live in a land where you're denied water and land, you don't have either, okay? That's a corporation that does that. Nobody here owns land. That's why the children in the street. Same reason the survivalists upset. Same reason the white nationals upset. Because they keep everybody in conflict with each other. You can't own your own water and you can't own your own land, which means you are a beast of burden. You will be burdened for life to work on a forced labor slave tax plantation, all right? Nobody cares about you in government. They don't care about you. It's literally their job not to. It's their job to keep the water and the land from you. All right. If these kids were given what they were equated to, what their birthright, but it's not 40 acres now. It's not 40 acres no more. They say 40 acres and a mule. No, it's not that now. No, it ain't that. Yeah, y'all been having babies, drinking that wine, smoking that tweed, having them babies. It's only 16 acres now. But if everybody had their 16 acres and had a little PVC pipe to dig them a little well, nobody will be in the street riding. Government can end any day they want. But when you build a government and you let them decide everything with violence, then when your kids act up, it's exactly what they're going to do. Violence, right? It's all they know. It's what they worship. And we've cheered and clapped and voted for this nonsense long enough. Good morning, people. Good morning. It's time to end the nonsense. You don't end it with the National Guard. You give people their freedom. You give them their water and their land back. But you got to be governed to do that. You got to have a say in government to do that. All right, here we go. Switch music. And I got to take you to one of my favorite neuroscientists today. But however, before we go there, we need to talk about Manchurian candidate, where the Department of Education came from. And I asked the question the other day, nobody answered it. There go my voice, Christine. They go right there. I'm not doing videos 5 days a week. It's hard to do. But people out there sacrificing their lives, damn it, then I need to sacrifice my voice. It's the least I can do. When are y'all going to arrest these professors? When are you going to arrest them? I'm waiting. You got a whole bunch of terrorists that need to be arrested. They're called professors from liberal universities. They need to be in prison. I'm sorry, I don't agree with prison, but for the moment, they need to be in prison. You know why? because they've been teaching hate for the longest time. And people got called on it. Who was it? Jordan Peterson, I think it was. He even called you on it. He even called you don't brainwash babies into violence. You don't give them a sense of hate for people that have white skin, and especially if they have white skin. Because when you encode enough of those Manchurian candidates, you program them long enough, their friends say it, their friends agree with it, they go to lunch, another professor says it, you teach them that white people did this to you, my people did this to you, I'm gonna beat myself with a pain stick to be your ally. That hate bubbles up years after years, watching the TV, and then you wonder why you don't see white men being beat by cop on the television and the news and the social media. Why? Because they hid it from you. They needed the Manchurian. That you got to percolate and marinate that hate. You got to marinate that hate to get these white kids to hate themselves and hate their mother and hate their father and hate because all the black people being beat up on the TV, which is very real. It's very real. All the videos are real, but they kept the white ones from you. Why? Because you needed to just make the perfect level of hate. So that when the billionaires need to press that button, time to topple America, time to shift the currency, time to bring in martial law and get everybody to agree to a new deal. Listen, there are no coincidences when it comes to changing the world's currency. When you have a world's reserve currency and the world's largest military, which is the world's largest empire, everything in that nation is controlled. Everything. It's common damn sense, or it used to be. There are no grassroots anything. There's racism. Is it real? Hell yeah, it's real. Look at my skin. Do you think look at my skin? We're not gonna go through that. The point is we got bigger fish to fry because the bigger fish are always the ones that put you out there to die. All right, the kids are getting killed. It's time for the adults to start speaking some common sense. So one, y'all need to be out there arresting those terrorists called professors from universities preaching hate and coming up with hate phrases that are popularized and said on the media. We have laws for that, all right? We have laws for hate crimes. We have terrorist units that need to start arresting these people because they did this to the children before they called the National Guard out. That's number one. Number two, the Department of Education was designed in Prussia, all right? That's where the model came from. And why do we have this model? We have this model, one, to lock the classes in, two, to train people for the military, all right? That was the understanding of the time. This was the Prussian, French War, Napoleon, and the Prussians won. And the Prussians won. Why did they win? Because they had an indoctrination of system of teaching their citizens to be slaves to authority, not to have any sense of self, not to have any love for themselves, to hate their own culture and everybody else's too. So that one day, when a war comes, you could conscript more troops. And that's why they beat Napoleon. Why? Because they weren't individuals. They weren't allowed to be themselves. They were all slaves to be encoded like Manchurian candidates. Anytime the government said it's time to go murder people and steal what they got, even though I'm not going to give you any land nor water. All right, do you see what I'm saying? I'm going to say it another way. Those who killed JFK, those who did 9/11, those who killed Martin Luther King, those are the ones that are still calling the shots now. When I figured this out, it was when we were listening to the USS Liberty that gets me thrown in Facebook prison every damn Memorial Day. I didn't do it this Memorial Day because I'm tired of saying the same damn thing. However, the youth are waking up. The youth are actually starting to see through this scam. And let me show you why. Did y'all see the video I posted this morning by this young brother who saw through the matrix? Saw through the matrix. And this is why I'm saying, like, you know, I saw the video. What was it, Dallas? Where the kids were beating up that old man. And I guess he was a business owner or whatever. I got to go here and show you his video. I'm not going to show you his video. I want you to watch the video. All right. The kids are starting to realize that they've been played. They're seeing the disaster and the chaos. This happened to be I guess he was a member of Black Lives Matter or Antifa, which, by the way, don't get me wrong, I'm not against the group. I'm against groupism, period. So I have no issue with a lot of great people working Black Lives Matter, like White Lives Matter, like Blue Lives Matter, like the pharmaceutical industry. but the pharmaceutical industry is in it for the profit, and so is Black Lives Matter at the top, White Lives Matter at the top, Blue Lives Matter at the top. That's called a democracy. You get together with a group and you decide who else you want to go to abuse because you don't want to end the plantation. You want to be the one holding the whip. So let's just talk real. We got to talk real for a minute. Where is this brother's video? Hang on. Right here. What is his name? His name is, I got to show it to you first. I didn't even greet nobody this morning, did I? I know I'm a little aggressive this morning. I apologize to y'all, but I don't like seeing old white dudes being beat up. Those are my cousins, and I don't like seeing them beat up by young people who are my cousins, and I damn sure don't want to see the National Guard called out against my cousins. And that's what Trump said last night. He said, we're going to get the National Guard on the street, and if you don't do it in your state and your city, we are going to do it for you. We got problems, people, and they're easy solutions. This is a brother, Chaziel's son, and I'm going to show you the beginning part of his video.
What's up, world? It's your main man, Chaziel Sunz. And I haven't really been hitting nobody in the head. I've been doing a whole lot of growth, a whole lot of growing in the last about year and a half, 2 years. And I want to make this video because, you know, I've been concentrating on just family and close friends and whatnot, and just kind of leaving the movement to the professionals. And it was just like, you know, I'm basically say it like this. Around the time, I say, probably the end of 2015, somewhere in there, probably going into 2016, I started to notice, I began to notice infiltrators coming into the movement, which is already, it's been like this for a long time. But I actually started to see them all online, making fake pages. And basically, these fake people, part of the black movement, or whatever you want to call it, were basically, you know, feeding off our emotions, trying to get us involved in things that we're not involved in, trying to get us to believe in things that we weren't familiar with, and basically pushing us to be more left and democratic. And one thing I want to say right now is, if you are a revolutionary or anything like that, you're not even supposed to believe in politics. So for the people who still are believing that this movement, this black movement, even some of these white movements are legit, man, you have a lot of growing to do.
I'm gonna stop there. I want you to watch this whole video. I'll post the link afterwards, as I always do. He said a couple things there we've been saying for a very long time. Listen to me, people. If you are a revolutionary, if you believe in freedom, liberty, not getting along to go along, stepping and fetching with the plantation, you don't talk about politics. You understand what got us here was politics. You understand what got us here was poor people turned against poor people because they had no clue how the world works. They had no clue that it was power and money. This is a young brother that's figuring out, like a lot are. I'm seeing a whole lot of young people stepping up now. They're realizing they've been played. Kids aren't stupid. They're Manchurian candidates. They're abused. They're turned into slaves, if you will, to political parties. And this is why I'm saying, this is why I do not get down with no Democrats, and I don't get down with Republicans. They believe in politics. Let me tell you something. There comes a time when you got to stop pulling punches. Right now is the time. I'm sorry, but I try to be as diplomatic as I can. I try to talk to people as even keel as I can. But right now, kids are dying in the street. They're about to call out the National Guard, and I do not want to see the National Guard going up against abused, brainwashed children for your nonsensical politics. I got to say something right here, and I'm going to lose a lot of people. Is Donald Trump racist? go to hell. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. When you take politics and politicians and you think they got any damn thing to do with racism that's been alive in this country since the beginning, from when the billionaires created the races to separate the people that ain't give two damns about color, you are clueless, you are stupid, and you have no attachment to history whatsoever. Please do your research. You're getting children killed. Now I'm gonna calm down because I get upset. You're getting people killed. All right. You did this. Don't come to me with this Donald Trump crap no more. Donald Trump is an actor. President don't have any damn power. He was an actor on television. Nobody cares about that when people are dying. We can stay quiet. All right, when y'all playing your little titty links political game, screwing each other over, screwing everybody over in the nation, but now is not the time. Now things are getting real. It's getting hot outside. It's time for you to grow the hell up and shut up. Nobody cares what Donald Trump is doing. He has nothing to do with systematic racism and oppression of poor whites, blacks, and now the middle class. All right, nobody in this country owns land. Nobody in this country owns their water, and everybody's being poisoned. The minute you start talking about race, anything, and you mention Donald Trump, you're clueless. Clueless. I love you to death. I do, and I'm not trying to yell. I'm just saying there's a time when grown-ups got to be grown-ups, and you let the children be children. The children out there burning down the cities. Why? Because that's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to do. When you don't see a future, when you don't have any future, when you don't own no land, you ain't got no opportunity, why do you give a damn? You don't give a damn at all. But the good thing about these kids, like this young man right here, is they're street smart. They're not stupid. See, when you raise survivalists in trailer parks and ghettos, they learn how to survive. And they ain't stupid. They're street smart. After a while, they'll see through your bullshizzle. All right? There ain't no progression in politics. Politics is why we're here. Now, let me calm down a little bit. Let me calm down. I mean, I do. I love y'all to death, but you're brainwashed. You're brainwashed and you're getting people killed. You watch that damn television and they're programming you like the education system is designed to program these children and make Manchurian candidates out of them. All right? You want to heal things, you give the people the things that they need to see a future. If they don't see a future, they will burn the city down. It's what they're supposed to do before the National Guard gets called in to murder them. All right, it's time that we grow up. This is not about politics no more. It ain't about your little silly, stupid vote in election that you have no say in. You don't have a say in this country. Read the Act of 1871, the Washington, D.C. Act. You don't have a damn president. You don't have a Congress nor a Senate. They are owned internationally by billionaires, okay? The purse is owned by a Federal Reserve, which is not even based in the United damn States. 12 different federal departments, the stuff we've been saying for a long time. Grow the hell up. I get your emotions. I get your emotions. But you can't let people and a TV abuse you like it does these children to make them slaves to their plantation. I done seen the black elite coming a long time ago, and all they want is a plantation of you slaves to abuse. All right, time that we grow up. Now, I want to talk about the education system. These kids are Manchurian candidates, people. Don't join the team. Don't join the side. I got to show you a picture real quick. I know, I'm trying to calm down. I know, because I'm going to lose my voice. And when I lose my voice, this ends. And I got work to do. I got to show you a picture. Please, people, please stop using your children for human shields. Please stop. Don't do that. All right. Now, I believe that most protests are just protests. I do not believe for 1 second that the majority of protests are violent. I believe the media shows me and you what they need us to see. They show us what sells papers, okay? They lie to us in ways that will get them press passes and don't get them in trouble with the billionaires that sell the advertising on their commercials, all right? And what does that is dramatic news media. I mean, I'm not out at the protests, and y'all know why. I have no interest at all in being involved in that. Did that when I was young. Now I'm 29, ain't doing that right now. I realize we ain't got no damn government. We need some other solutions. But I gotta show you this picture right here. Because every time that you see one of these pictures, and there was a video yesterday that we that we looked at where the little girl was sprayed with pepper spray. I told you, like I said, I can only watch a few little bits of it. I can't watch the rest of it because I know me, and I know that y'all don't know the complete me. All right? Come on here. What you're looking at is a product of years and years of reading, trying to research and learning how the world works, why nothing in civics class was actually real, what actually happened to us, and I try to be as even keel as I can. However, when you start hurting kids, when you have police force and people that are spraying children with pepper spray, it invokes something. And so I have to try to remain calm. But this picture right here, okay? People, stop doing this. Stop doing this. We have the pictures that we need. Is that Brother Walter? Brother Walter is here, and he'll be the first one to tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you that our police force was trained by Zionists. And he's right. All right? I saw this picture here, and usually when this picture comes up, half the ignorant people yell and scream, "Don't take your children to protest," and the other half of the ignorant people scream, "Yeah, look what the police do." And they're both right. They're both right. Do me a favor, for once, make a post that shows people you have integrity. You're not still playing politics and just trying to take what you need from a picture to paint your own story based in your own bigotry of where you were born and what you're trying to control people. That makes you no better than a damn politician in times that we got real work to do. We got real people that need help, okay? A picture is 1,000 words, as they say, and this is probably 1,000,000 for me, all right? Now this young man, and I assume that's a young man that brought his daughter or somebody dressed in a costume to a protest. Now, there is no circumstance to me in my mind why it makes any damn sense to take your child to a protest. That's turning violent, that you know is violent. However, this man did it, and now what are we gonna do with it? Well, if you have a police force that can pull a gun on a child, and I believe that's one of the guns they use for the riot stuff, the spraying tear gas or whatever, but this is the same picture that we showed you in Palestine, right? Which is why it's critical that Brother Walter, who I disagree with on some things and we agree on most things, and that is you can't have a police force that is trained in the process of a nation that's warring upon its own people, all right? And that's the police force we have. This reminded me of the picture of the tank turret turned on the toddler, the little children. Do you remember that picture? There's a bunch of them online. Look them up if they haven't deleted them. There is no circumstance on the planet that will make a grown man or young woman or grown woman focus a gun at a child. Nothing, none. There's no reason. In order to do that, you must be a psychopath, all right? You must be a psychopath. Please talk about this image the right way. Yes, an image is 1,000 words. 1,000 words. That's what art is. Do not pick out the words that cheer your own ignorance. All right. We got real problems to solve. Nobody's free and everybody's upset. We can be free. We're in passionate times. We just got to take this nonsense and focus the right way. Now I want to go back to the Manchurian candidate that is we call children. Out in the street, beating up old people, fighting with other people and each other. There's something called the warrior gene, okay? It's 27 genes. This is why we talk about everything here, because it all makes perfectly good sense. When you turn these genes on in these children, when you turn these genes on the same way you do in boot camp, you make monsters. You trigger them and you get ready. Now I'm gonna let Dr. Fallon tell you about this. And I'm not even sure who this is. This is, who is he? Anderson Cooper. Ignore all of that. Ignore that it's CNN. Even a broken clock is wrong twice a day. All right, at least the old broken clocks we used to, not the digital clocks. Listen to what this man is saying. This is why I'm saying don't hate children. They're only children. They're under 26. They don't have a frontal lobe. You have a frontal lobe. Your common sense is supposed to be coming from you. We have a social contract to a degree with children, the next generation. See, they come up in a time and they believe everything they're told is true. And the adults in the environment who've been here a lot longer, if it's not true, they would tell them or they would say something. So we have a responsibility and an obligation to these children to start speaking about what's true. Here goes Dr. Fallon right here.
This is amazing. You're looking at scans of murderers, of schizophrenics, normal brain scans, PET scans, and your own brain scan, and you discover that in your own brain, it is the same kind of brain as a psychopath.
Yeah, it was like the worst case, because all those areas of the brain that I had decided, by looking at these, that were involved in, the psychopathic personality, I had all of them, and it was completely turned off, and it had to do with emotional regulation.
So you can actually see in a brain scan if somebody's a psychopath?
Not really. What you can see are changes that are consistent with traits. So I can look at different brain scans and say that person's got a language problem, that person's got a problem with their visual system or sense of space. So you can see traits.
And the traits of a psychopath that are clear to you that you think you have are what?
Well, it's a very poor sense of morality, first of all. Like for me and for people who are psychopaths, they can have a sense of ethics, the rules of behavior. But actually, the deep morality, what we consider morality, is not there.
So psychopath, do you have a sense of empathy?
I have a sense of what's called cognitive empathy.
So rationally,
I understand when somebody is in pain.
Okay.
But what I don't have so much of is emotional empathy. So I have what would be more like sympathy. I'm involved in a lot of charitable sorts of endeavors. I've always been. But actually connecting with somebody emotionally, it's tough to be close to me, to be married to me or be really close. It just is, because it's not there.
So is there a...
It's not there. Does that sound familiar to anybody? You adults that are lashing out at children in the street and you're 3 times their age, you got frontal lobe privilege. Do you see a lack in empathy in children 8, 10 at a time kicking some old guy in the street? Do you think that's normal behavior for children? Do you know any children like that? Are you happy to abuse kids because they're mentally ill? The same way the liberal universities and professors did this to them. All right, we got to stop playing because this is science. This is all science. Trust the science. This is what I'm saying. When things get real like this, you go to the professionals. You shut the hell up. Go to the professionals. Stop abusing children. Don't tell me that you're out here fighting child trafficking, but you're okay when it's not your child doing something stupid in the street that's about to have the military clamp down on them. All right, this is what I'm saying. We got to grow up and empathize with everybody. I am not talking to you psychopaths. If you're a psychopath and you got your warrior genes activated, just sit there. You have no idea what I'm saying because you can't even feel the empathy. You know what I mean? You understand that what I'm saying probably makes some sense, but you can't feel it. You're just angry because you see the kids beating up somebody of your ignorant identity. All right? Don't join the side if you're not a psychopath. If you're a psychopath, then go do what you got to do.
Hopeful aspect to all of this, that having identified this, you can change behavior, or what's the takeaway for you?
Well, the first thing, the knowledge, I found out I was completely wrong about the science, which was a bitter pill to swallow, because I thought everything was driven by genetics, biology, and I didn't think nurture had anything to do with it. Once I realized, because of the genes I have, that if you're brought up in a very nurturing environment, you can offset the biology.
So you may have genes for this, you may have these areas of the brains which aren't developed and stuff, but because of the way you were brought up, the foundation that your family gave you, you don't act out on these behaviors.
See, remember when I say that I got white people privilege? Right, I say that. All right, I'm trying to lighten it up a little bit, right? I stole a lot of white people's privilege, and I'm sorry, yo, I didn't have a choice. I had a mother and a father. I came from a good family. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area where abusing white people is what a lot of them did. All right, I didn't know. I ended up with it. This is why I don't deal with words like white guilt, white fragility, white supremacy. Why? Because if you say it the other way, you say it's racism. So you can't say it. You say black guilt, black fragility, black supremacy. It's racism no matter how you look at it, right? I got a lot of people's privilege. And I don't believe in abusing the people who didn't have it. I'm kind of joking there to a little degree. But do you see what I'm saying? If you got the privilege of not having warrior genes activated, you got the ability to kind of see through the matrix because you're not as crazy as everybody else. If I'm allowed to use that word, we'll just call it a psychopathic spectrum. You're not on it. We got to learn how to love everybody, people. We got to learn how to love everybody. And the only way you do that is you have to trust the science. You have to understand that some people are abused and made this way. You have to understand, what is that law when a woman who's being abused kills her husband and she's let off, right? Temporary insanity, temporary insanity. When you endure significant amounts of abuse over periods of time, sometime it bubbles up. And when it finally bubbles up, it pops. You can have empathy for a woman in that situation because of what she's gone through. Can you have empathy for children in the street who don't know how the world works and are doing wrong things? I am not making excuses for children looting. I'm trying to make sense of why we see children in the street who should be going to parties, getting drunk, having fun, doing all the stuff that we did when we were kids, being crazy, and not burning down buildings. They don't see a future. They don't see a future. They've been taught hate and they don't see a future, and so they're lashing out. We need to understand that they're lashing out. Why would a wife kill her husband that's been abusing her for 20 years? Well, she doesn't see a future. So it doesn't matter. She can burn down the house, she can kill him, and drive the car into the ocean with the kids. Same damn thing. But we have empathy at that point, and we realize, we look at the big picture. We stop looking at our own little ignorant picture because we're trying to make a case on social media and get followers, all right? Listen to the science. This man is explaining to you what's happening right now. These kids are conditioned, as I think Brother Don just said.
Just found out in the past 2 years, some of these genes that were kind of warrior genes that put you at risk if you're abused early on, if you're treated with love and you're not abandoned or anything like that, it has the opposite effect. It kind of washes all the negatives away. So you still have some traits, but you don't have the full-blown psychopathy. So I think I was saved by a nurturing environment and a really loving extended family. My mother saw something early on, which she finally told me last year that something wasn't right. And
really?
Yeah.
Explain the whole story, because James Fallon has lots of lectures online. Dr. James Fallon. I encourage you to look him up, watch the lectures. He'll explain to you how the warrior genes work, what the psychopathic spectrum is, so you'll understand what he's talking about. But to kind of sum what he's saying up here, he's a psychopath. Remember how we were saying that, you know what, the people we trust, the doctors we trust, the nurses, the people, the medical professionals, the ones we trust are the ones that turn on a profit. The whistleblowers you trust are the ones that turn on their boss. Those are the people you trust, because those are the people who are putting ethics before profit. And he just explained that to you. They used to be in that argument, nature over nurture, and they realize, oh, it's not nature and it's not nurture, it's both. Nature has a senior partnership in that. Why? Evolution. You are an amazing creature. You're an amazing creature. So are the business owners and the children in the street. You were evolved the ability to deal with almost any situation that comes in front of you. How can someone take out a knife and stab their husband 32 times? Is because we've evolved this sense of being able to flip these 27 genes on and off based on the circumstances we're in to do inhuman things for survival, all right? When you are denied food and you're denied land and survival, you can flip all kind of genes. And the best example I heard somebody else say, and I've said this a few times, I apologize if you heard me say this before. If you're born in a time and your tribe is at war with another tribe, you can't have hippies. You can't have people like me. Most of the time I'm in hippie zone. I love everybody, feed everybody, take care of everybody, but you can't have me. You have to have kids that are tweaked to be able to fight. You got to be able to take a spear and stab it through somebody's eye multiple times if you have to kill them. You know how hard it is to plummet a sword through the chest cavity of a human? No, neither do I. I have no idea. I ain't got no idea. Why? I'm not born in that time. I wasn't born in the time of war. I was born in America. I don't need to know that it takes 200 square inch per pressure to shove a sword through somebody's chest and sit up all night sharpening my sword, thinking about all the people I can murder tomorrow in the war. They're called the warrior genes for a reason. It's because you can't have hippies in times of war. If the tribe is fighting with other tribes, you need warriors. You don't need hippies. You need women that can chase down short-faced bears and stab them. Like I was explaining this to my neighbor yesterday. We were having a good conversation. We were out there just like, you ever heard of a short-faced bear? And I said, no, I ain't never heard of that. He said the biggest bear on this planet was a short-faced bear. I was telling him about it. Damn thing's 25 feet tall. 25 feet. It could walk up to your house and put its elbows on your roof and look in your window and just pull you out like a little bag of jelly and eat you. Human beings fought that damn thing. Fought it. I explained to him, I said, you know what, if a short-faced bear came around that corner, you know what I'd do? What would you do? Would you fight? Because we were looking at his new bow and arrow. And I said, nah, I'd piss on myself and I'd probably doodle on myself and I'd probably pass out. Why? Because I don't have that warrior gene on. Now, if I was safe in the house and I seen it for a couple times, that gene would get tweaked. And after a while, I could take a rock and sharpen a rock and put it on a damn stick and tie some rope around it and go try to stab a 25-foot damn grizzly bear, short-faced bear. Yeah, I could do that after that gene gets turned on, the same way these kids are being trained in these universities. And it's just not a thing against these professors in these liberal universities, because the families in hate did it too. Right? They did it too. They just did it another way, the same way the Prussians did it, right? These genes get turned on for survival. If we have to chase down 14-foot tall woolly mammoths with 12-foot tusks, the only way we can do that with sticks is that warrior gene turned on. Multiple, 27 of them. Regulate fear, regulate empathy, regulate aggression, give you the ability to burn down a Goldman Sachs building and beat up the person who comes out of it. That has nothing to do with the resources that are being kept from you in this country by two political parties that fuel both sides. The ones that won't give you the land nor the water. All right, that honesty and integrity part. All right, so that's what the warrior genes are. In times of peace, we think about peaceful things. We love each other and we look out for each other, blah, 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 blah. In times of war and aggression and survival, we raise warriors. And that's what's going on with these kids. And that's what Dr. Fallon found out from the prison system.
Identified that early on.
Yeah, she told me, started telling me things. Wow. Yeah, and it was really a surprise because she says he never told anybody because I was heading in a dark direction. And I realized a lot of this kind of happy talk that and very gregarious sort of stuff, I'm always on the make. Not sexually or trying to get money, but I'm always trying to get people into my world, even if it's for 5 minutes.
I'm convinced, I find this whole topic of psychopaths really interesting because I'm convinced there's a lot more people out there who are psychopaths than we realize, and particularly successful people, accomplished people, people on TV, people in the political sphere. I'm convinced there are tons of psychopaths.
I'm glad that you are convinced, Anderson Cooper, and I'm glad that you find it interesting. It is not interesting. This defines the whole world the way it is right now. People are controlled and they're made to do things that they wouldn't normally do. All right. Every nation is a slave plantation. Ain't nobody free. And it's not interesting. And yes, the most successful people in the world are almost all psychopaths. Why? Because you can't be the #1 surgeon in the world and be a human being that's not on the spectrum. Why? Once we said before, when you see a baby come in the emergency room, how many of y'all can just jump down and do your job and he has a leg hanging off, half the eye is out the socket, teeth are out, and the baby's bleeding to death crying? Most of us can't do that. The doctor can't do that either, which is why in medical schools, they give them cadavers and train them. Unfortunately, I know because I was in the computer science building and my building was shared by you damn physical therapists. And for some reason, because you transferred the bodies in between class, you didn't think we could smell the formaldehyde in the air when class was over. No, we could smell it. We know what's going on. And I couldn't focus once I figured out. I'm sitting in class, learning how to program. Thank God I already knew how to program because I had daddy programmer privilege. He put a computer in front of my hands at the age of 7. Thinking about all the dead bodies in the hallway. Why did they do that? Why? Because they trained them about the muscles and the body parts. They get them used to looking at dead people. If you get used to looking at dead people for 7 to 11 years, then hell yeah, you can do surgery in the emergency room. But still, when that first baby comes in, it's going to break you down. But when the second baby comes in, it's going to break you down. When the fifth baby, it's going to break you down. But by the time you get up to the 30th, the 40th, for survival, you got to do your job. Those warrior genes start regulating to allow you to survive, where you don't see a baby, you just see a life that you got to save. And then you can be the top surgeon. Same thing with a political party. How you get the top of politics? Well, you can't give a damn about everybody. Why? Because you got to agree with genocide and war. You got to agree with take stuff from them and give it to them. Why? Because the bankers and the billionaires that own this world have no interest in sharing the water nor the land with anybody. And the only way you keep people going is you share some of the stuff that comes from the land and the water, but you keep taking it from this group and giving it to that group. You keep taking it from Beaufont and give it to Hillary for a few years, then you take it from Hillary and give it to Beaufont, but you don't let them all have it. So that way they're fighting each other and not you. This is why the government is not a government. A government would actually do things for the people, and it would make sure that a creature that requires ecosystems would have ecosystems. A creature that requires water at birth would have water, all right? You're not being governed. You're being controlled. You're being controlled. We're all on that spectrum, if you ask me. But this is how the world works. Let him wrap it up.
Oh, yeah. And if you, Anderson, if you look at, there was just a study done, a scientific study of all our presidents. And all the biographers answered all these questions about them. And it was on a scale of psychopathy. And on the scale of psychopathy, in sort of the one part of psychopathy, not the criminality part, but the other part, which is a big part of psychopathy, the ones who scored very high were like Theodore Roosevelt, JFK, FDR, Bill Clinton, very high. The ones had no psychopathy at all in this were people like Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford. And when you look at the association of those psychopathic traits with leadership, it's like we want these people, right? Because they do things that are, they take chances, they lie at the right time. You know, FDR was lying all the time, but he saved us, so it was okay.
They speak to your bigotry. They speak to your confirmation bias. You were born in a barrio or a trailer park or a ghetto. You were born with this skin or this religion, that religion. They're good at lying. They lie well. They know how to get you to agree that a system that sold you under the river 100 freaking years ago is actually going to do something for you now, right? And that's how all of this works.
So if you look at people that we choose to be leaders, I think a lot of them have these traits, and they're part of leadership skills.
I also think what it takes to propel somebody into the public sphere, propel somebody to success, I mean, it's not, they are not normal impulses, I think. And I think a lot of them are psychopathic impulses.
If you have that grand vision.
That is the first thing that Anderson Cooper said that I agree. They're propelled there. Why? Because they came from places where they had nothing. They came from places and they knew they had to get in government. They had to help their side out. They had to get to the top and take resources from the others and give it to them, instead of taking the resources from the banks that are not sovereigns at all.
Vision. Because psychopaths will have a grand vision. Not all of them. Some are just lousy rats, but people have that grandiose narcissistic need, and they've got something to prove, and they've got something, they say, I'm going to save the world. That's part of it. It doesn't make you psychopathic, but it's one of the traits that fits into this puzzle of psychopathy.
It's really fascinating. Thank you so much.
It's more than fascinating. Once again, it's how your world works. We literally have all psychopaths at the top. This is why I don't give two damns when y'all start talking about Donald Trump is racist. Donald Trump ain't got nothing to do with the system that is completely indifferent and apathetic to the needs of a species that you're trapped in. I gotta show you one more other thing. Your education system. Manchurian candidates. This is how they make Manchurian candidates. They take kids at very young age and they give them the Prussian education system. And the Prussian education system is only designed to make warriors.
Elite children destined for higher offices went on to attend private schools, while the rest of the population had no access to the secondary education. They were destined for the working class. Through this new system, the Prussian court tried to create social obedience in the citizens through indoctrination. Every individual had to become convinced at the core of their being that the king was just, his decisions were always right, and the need for obedience paramount. In truth, the entire purpose of the system was to instill loyalty to the crown and to train young men for the military and bureaucracy. To do this, it was necessary to squeeze out all independent thinking from the masses. Influencing this new system from the beginning was Prussian philosopher Johann Gottlieb Fichte. Combining John Locke's view that the children are a blank slate and Rousseau's ideas on how to write on that slate, Prussia established an educational system that was considered scientific in nature. An important part of the Prussian system was that it defined for the child what was to be learned, what was to be thought about, and how long to think about it. In order to have an efficient policy-making class and a subclass beneath it, it was believed that one had to remove the power of most people to make sense out of the available information. In other words, critical thinking had to be done away with. Now, if you're wondering why the average person doesn't know that the North American education system is based directly on the Prussian model, it might just be because its original purpose was not designed for the good of the individual, but for the good of the government. The philosophy of Johann Fichte directly influenced the creation of the Prussian model of schooling, as he is quoted saying, "The schools must fashion the person, and fashion him in such a way that he simply cannot will otherwise than what you wish him to will." With quotes like these, you can see why his involvement is not well known. Education should aim at destroying free will, so that after pupils are thus schooled, they will be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than as their schoolmasters would have wished.
I'm gonna stop there. You can watch the whole video. The bottom line is, I'll post the link. The bottom line is, we're all Manchurian candidates to a degree. People on the street at a very, very high degree on that spectrum of psychopathy, because they are raised in a public education system that's designed to turn them into warriors, to fight with other poor people, to fight with other nations, designed to take their free will, designed to take their sovereignty and convince them that the system is sovereign, that their kings are always right, that the masters always have their best interests in mind. You know, and this happened on the slave plantation. It happened on the slave plantation too. This is why the slaves hated the man with the whip, but loved their master. They wanted to live close to the master's house. They hated the man with the whip, but they loved the master. Same thing as a dog in the mailman, the delivery mailman. They attack the newspaper. They don't have any problem with the mailman. They break you down and they take away your free will. And we got to be better than this. They break your critical thought and they take it away. And this is largely why people can't understand why some of the deepest thinkers in this country and in the world, they don't seem to be able to put this together. It boggles my mind every time. Some of the smartest people I know, they can't seem to put together the dots. It's because the education system took their critical thought. It didn't give them critical thought, which is why I go back to singing this young man's praise on YouTube. He was starting to see through it and figuring out that, no, the black elite ain't on your side, nor is the white elite. The minute you got a group, you adhere to the banks. You're just holding up what they need to on their level. So that's where we are. We're coming into martial law. The question is, do you give more damn about yourself than you do about the next generation? I'm gonna read comments and I'm gonna get out of here. But they're Manchurian candidates. They're terrorist cells because you don't have a government, you got a corporation. It's owned by billionaires around the world, and they need you to be the tip of the rod, this war spear of their empire, to go raise warriors, meet for the fodder, to go put these kids in war and to fight each other, instead of changing a system that will look out for everybody. At birth, you have a right to be free, like a slug, a bug, a rat, anything, everything has an ecosystem but the human being. Why would you want to hold a system up like that? See, the kids are right about one thing. This thing needs to burn down. You need to burn it down. And how's that scripture say? Not one boulder of Babylon should be left. Not every single one of those boulders should be overturned at a metaphorical level, right? It's a stupid idea to burn down infrastructure that we're going to have to rebuild anyway if people realize what free will is and sovereignty is. That's why I say I'm an anarchist. I'm an anarchist because I don't like democracy in the street. That's democracy you see unfolding right there. Democracy is a required war. It's a war among mobs, whether they're in suits, at voting booths, or with spears and guns. All right. Yeah, Jack Hall is trained conditioning. Absolutely. Hold my blunt, somebody hold my blunt. Can Kentucky Fried Mama have a different perspective on that young man? Do y'all know what she's talking about? She's talking about the first young man that the cop that was dressing all black in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I keep mixing them up. They both start with M, leave me alone. Was busting the windows. The young man who said, hold my blunt, gave the guy his pizza, said, I'm gonna fight this guy who's busting these windows out. See, I don't think he was far from that psychopathic spectrum, I think. He's not high up on it. Because this was a young man who's like, no, we're here to protest. We have a problem and we need some help. We don't need violence and we don't need to break the window. So I think he was one Kentucky Fried Mama who was actually trying to come about a peaceful solution and was gonna fight a cop. Now, never mind, take back that psychopath. Yeah, he's on the psychopath. He's on that spectrum, but he's low on the spectrum. But he's willing to fight for peace. He was willing to fight somebody who's trained to fight. It was much bigger than him, right? To try to get a message out there to be known. This is why I don't think that most of these protests are violent. I think most of the protests are just protests, but the media shows us all violence. They're just showing us what we need to see. But the vast majority, I think, are starting to see through this crap. Shared to all sites. Thank you, Jay Rohn. Certainly appreciate that. Then they're in the system of criminal law, can't afford to bail, lose job, repeat. Exactly, Susie, and that's how that works. They're literally manufacturing psychopaths and systems to make profit off the psychopaths. Within walks the prison industrial complex, right? And the side effect of the people who get killed from the kids who are blank slates that they're programming for a war and conflict, and they're being released into society. They get caught doing one silly, stupid thing, under 26 without a frontal lobe to even know what they're doing. You throw them in the prison system, you let them get raped by the pedophiles and beat up by the grown men, which is why I say America has always been a human trafficking nation. It's legislated. And then you let them back out in the public. What do you think that child's supposed to do? They grew up with nothing. They were told to go out in conflict. They know that other people had more land or access to land and access to clean water and access to healthy food, and they had nothing. They got caught doing something trying to survive. They ended up in the prison system, and now they're being raped by pedophiles, and you got people outside clapping who claim that their government is going after pedophilia. And this is why I'm saying that's why I don't join the teams, because none of it makes any damn sense to me. The biggest pedophile ring in the world is the mass industrial complex, the prison industrial complex. And then you let that child back out, and then we wonder why women are being abused. We wonder why people are being raped. We wonder why stores are getting robbed. They can't get a job. The psychopath genes were turned on from the education system, and now they're monsters. And so you run to the government. Why? Because that's what people do. Please protect us. Get at the National Guard. You need more police. You need more laws. You need to stop them. And you literally create an industry out of turning children into monsters. And ignorant people in society who can't see between the lines that this is all a plan. This is all an industry. I was thinking about that yesterday, Susie. Racism, it's not a thing. It's an industry now. It used to be a thing in this country. It's not a thing anymore. It's an industry. And all sides are making profit. They're all writing books. They're all having speeches. They're all getting votes. It's an industry. They've industrialized, and I can say it a different way. They industrialized fear, and they made it an industry. And the people who industrialize it are trying to convince you that they're getting rid of it, but they make great careers on it. Come on now. And that's what this young brother's figuring out. This is why I'm saying, y'all, we got to stop pulling punches. Now it's time to come out the closet. It's time to come out the closet because the kids need that. The kids got the passion, but they don't have any clue what to do. They have no idea what was done to them because we sit back and let other adults run the show that's doing it to them. All right? That's why I think it's time to overturn some tables, people. It's time to overturn some tables. Absolutely. But they make industries out of fear. You can't do anything out of fear. You will always fail. How are Manchurian Youth created and enraged and finally engaged? You set up a couple of actors, you plan compartmentalize, and you show a world of white cops. Exactly. And this brother Walter saying the truth right there. And because Christine said the truth on a post earlier, Walter, it was pretty deep. She was like, you know, because she was talking about the orderariot.com, get a riot, whatever it is, get some actors.com. Those are very real things, you know, and that's how you activate the Manchurian candidates. You got these kids that are angry, and don't get me wrong. You got these young white kids that love black people, right? They grew up with them and they want to protect them. But you can't teach them that they need to hate themselves to help somebody else. We don't need abused people. Abused people can't help us. You need to be strong. You need to be proud of yourself and have the ability to stand up, not hand your power to someone else. That's as bad as taking your sovereignty and giving it to a government, all right? Just as bad. So they got love, but they're misguided, misdirected, but they got that passion. I gotta do something for my friends. And they get triggered, right? Because they see the white cop on TV. All the news is constantly white cops beating up kids, and we know that the white young men are murdered by police more, but they keep that statistic from you, not in percentage, but in number, which I like to clarify. Look it up if you don't understand that. And if you don't know that, you are in a community that's brainwashing you. They are Manchurian candidating you. They literally create terrorist cells out of children. And how do you activate that cell after all building up all this hate, all the imagery, all the videos, all the screaming and the crying? I can't breathe, and boom, it blows up the right video. And then the banks activate these children. Why? Not for George Floyd, not for anything else, other than to destabilize your country. Perhaps to flip the currency, perhaps to flip the ownership. I don't know. I don't know. I just know there are no coincidences in world domination. There's no coincidences with the people in a nation that hold the world's reserve currency. Billionaires and trillionaire families are not that stupid. But you need that trigger, and it's what he just said right there. You hire a crowd, you get the police out there to break the windows, you bring in these actors to start spewing the violence like in Charlottesville. And if you didn't know what happened in Charlottesville, if you didn't know that that was a planned interaction, then you need to look it up. You need to look it up because they did the same damn thing there. The problem is they told you Alex Jones was racist. Now, my personal perspective, I think everybody's racist. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is America. We need to be honest. Everybody, to a degree, got some issues, right? Everybody's raised to focus on race. And maybe as an adult, you try to take yourself off that spectrum, but your brain still makes choices when it sees people it doesn't recognize. But in Charlottesville, Alex Jones told you that. Well, I wasn't Alex Jones. It was a journalist on Alex Jones that I saw. And the journalist said, well, what happened? What happened in while the ignorant people on this side jump on that side and the ignorant bigots on the other side jump on the other side? The journalist said, look, we see this every single rally. It's the same people. The same people show up every single rally. They start a fight, they start arguing, they start yelling, they start throwing things. All the other Manchurian candidate children who are there are activated, and then those people disappear, right? They're destabilizing your country intentionally. Why? You know, you can get into conspiracy theory, but the bottom line is you can't flip a nation's currency and give them a new slavery deal, calling it the Green Deal, unless those people are desperate. They'll see through it. So they got to be locked in their houses. And I don't think the virus worked. I think that people saw through that. Now we need another reason to lock down people. So now imagine if the virus is gone. Like, don't you see how you're being controlled? Does anybody see that? Like, even at another level through the media in terms of making Manchurian. 2 weeks ago, y'all were scared to hug people. 2 weeks ago, you were scared to go out. I'm watching people jogging in masks. Now they're out there rioting, spitting, yelling, and fighting with police. See how the media does that to people? And you think that that's normal? You can self-diagnose yourself if you want to, but all of this is planned. All of this is planned. Everything is highly controlled and it's all planned. How do we stop the war on drugs? Susie, you stop voting. That's how you do. The only way you stop the war on drugs is you got to stop the people who are profiting from it. They literally created a drug war that never existed. To take medicine from you, to take the pain-killing medicine from you, to get you to buy Big Pharma's product. Also, to throw the Mexicans and the minorities who were smoking the weed and to create a mass industrial prison system, to reinvent Jim Crow. So how do you get rid of it? You got to get rid of the people who are benefit from it. You got to stop cheering them. And who is that? It's bipartisan, both sides. Both sides make big money from the prison industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the people who make the shoes in prison and the handcuffs for the police. They're all black and white, all of them. And there's some Mexicans in there too, some Hispanics in there too, and they're probably Asian too. They're in government. They're not stopping nothing because they're all making big money from it. And I'm not blaming them. Right? They created their careers in convincing people that they were there to help. Now they're going to get great retirements from it. So how you stop the war on drugs? You say no. That's how you do it. You say no. You'll never stop an industry that you're voting to feed into, right? Black Caucus, Bill Clinton, crime bill. You know, we can go back to that. I mean, Reagan, this is your brain on drugs. Now, the one thing we don't deal with is pain. So what you have to do is you have to take the painkillers from people. You got to take the cannabis that actually helps them deal with their depression. You got to take it from them so they'll get out in the street and fight and kill and do other things to other people. How many suicides do we have because of it? So I think we have all easy solutions, Susie. It's just people don't want to do them because their identity is attached to a political party or a voting system that's controlled by their masters. That's how you control a slave plantation. Can you please post that link and tell me the name? Thanks. Which link is that, Barbara? I always post all the links when I'm done. Had to leave for a second. Oh, good. Well, Enoch, you know you're not supposed to walk out of class. That's not how the Prussian prison system, it's not how the Prussian education system works. You can't get up and go out of class. You need to raise your hand. Why? Because the education system is a prison system. You're not allowed to have freedom. And that's one way you fix the Department of Education too. The same way you fix the war on drugs. You free kids. You free kids. I don't understand why they have to learn what you want them to learn. I don't understand why they have to go in careers that make millionaires, billionaires, and billionaires trillions. I don't know why math, science, and English is so damn important to everybody. The child is born here, and some of the greatest minds couldn't even read. You don't need to read to have a mind now. Do I think kids should learn how to read? Hell yeah, I do. I just don't think that they should be your slaves. I think you got here first. I think you're bigger than them, but I don't think you should have a prison system of an education system and police that truancy officers that get them and arrest them because they don't go to the billionaire school that's created in Prussia for making indoctrinated children. Some kids hate school and they're supposed to. I tell y'all a little secret. I hated school. I hated it. There's a few teachers I love. Because they were very passionate in teaching. And I would have went to school just for them. I would have went for them because they made their classes interesting. They were passionate about the topic. All the rest of them were there for money. You break people with money. That's why I keep saying capital has to go away. As long as you got capital, it doesn't care if you got communism, socialism, or any of the isms. The people with the majority of capital will own the system. They'll pick the wars, they'll pick who lives and dies, and they'll make sure they got a class system and turn everybody against each other. I believe teachers should run their classrooms, principals should run their schools, and if the child doesn't need to go to school for a year or two because you're taking them to France or Europe to listen to music, to play this, learn how to do automation, grow food, work on the farm, whatever, that's your business. We need to become a free country again. And this is why I disagree with both sides. I disagree with the left and the right. I disagree with the people out there protesting and go back to work in slavery for billionaires. And I disagree with the people burning everything down that we need to feed people. I disagree with everybody. I just don't think y'all are slaves. I think you're acting like slaves and you're not a slave. All right. Cops are only taught maritime law. Ooh. And they are not taught common law. No, they're not, Jack. See, Jack Hall, somebody y'all need to follow. This is a brother that's talking real deal stuff. We didn't get as far from England as we thought we did. And England was never free. All right. The Bank of England is still there and we're still highly controlled. The banks run the world. And the Iron Bank ran the Game of Thrones. We did that the other day. how did Khaleesi burn the world? Well, she was pretty. She was pretty, and everybody thought, oh, she'll save us because she's pretty. You know, no, she burned the world because the Lannisters had to go to the bank and beg for the money, the same way your political parties do. And what does a bank do? The same thing the Iron Bank did to the Lannisters, the central banks, which are not, the Federal Reserve is not federal and is not reserved. When your political parties go to them, they get on their knees, they open their mouths, and they say, what do I need to do for you to print this money for us? All right, that's what a bank does to you. What do? You make your resume, you put together your business plan, you go to a bank, you bow, you get on your knees and say, I can pay you back. I can pay you back by my skill set. What is your skill set? Well, maybe you're a banker, lawyer, maybe you got a business plan, maybe you've been making that product for years, and the bank will give you the loan if you show them that you can pay them back. Same with the Democrats and the Republicans. They both go there and they bend the knee and they ask the bank, so we need this money, can you print this money for us? And what does the bank, the world's billionaire, say? Well, how are you gonna pay us back? And so what do? They look to their biggest industries who will make the most amount of money and borrow the most amount of money and says, oh, we're going to basically take our citizens' rights and give them all to those corporations. And that's what they do. They take your rights and they give them to those corporations to make the money so you'll pay your taxes, so they'll pay the taxes, so they can try to pay the bank back. But it doesn't even work that way because even that's being scammed. Fractional reserve banking. That's why you don't have a government. You have a corporation. And if it's a governing corporation, for all intents and purposes, it fits the definition of an oligarchy anyway. They do what makes profit. They don't do anything for you. And that's why you don't own any land and you don't own any water. You see what I'm saying? Water is life and land is freedom. And you're not allowed to have either. You're not allowed to have a life nor freedom. They let you borrow it temporarily if you work for the right billionaire corporations. You don't have any say in your government. War on drugs is a war on people. That's all. It always is. Kentucky Fried Mama. We are literally at war. These are quiet weapons for silent wars. If you don't know what that document is, also people need to look it up. War on poverty, war on people. That's all we're doing, Kentucky Fried Mama. And eventually, the people are pushing back through the children. The children are actually pushing back. You know, I asked that question this morning, Kentucky Fried Mama. Like, what if the government actually gave half a damn about these children instead of pointing a gun in their face? Like the tanks in Palestine, and like that police officer who put the gun in the face of that 6-year-old baby, like the police officer who pepper sprayed that 7-year-old baby. They're calling the National Guard out. They're not telling the people, you know what, we're sorry, we messed up, we were controlled by a corporation. Here's your 16 acres, and here's your water. Here's your chickens, and here's some seeds. You can be free. Just go be free. We're so sorry. We put you in an inner city. We put you in a trailer park, a ghetto. We didn't share the land with you. We were giving it to corporations because that's what we were designed to do. But we need y'all to stop burning the cities down and rioting. You're lashing out. We understand that this was a war. We started the war. We wrote the legislation, and we took everything that your species needs to survive. That's all they would do is give it back. And I think all the riots would stop. I think all the kids need are hope. That's all they need is hope. That's the only reason why an abused woman will burn a house down with her husband in it and her kids in it and herself too. She lost hope. And that's what these kids are doing. And we just need to have the hearts to see that, you know? Ooh, CIA cocaine drop off of central LA. Yes, Susie. And that Mena, Arkansas, if y'all don't know anything about the Clintons and trafficking the weapons, you had James Fallon just told you Clinton was a psychopath. And we know that not only did he leave half racial babies all over Arkansas, which I appreciate, by the way. I do. I tell you people, when race is no longer a thing, it's one less emotional thing off the boards, and we can walk towards being sentient. However, he did not pay no child support, Susie. And that's why I got an issue with him. He's a psychopath. But in Mena, Arkansas, they flew the drugs in. The drug war is the largest sting operation on the planet ever. It is the largest scam that has ever been deployed. Everybody who's been shot, killed, incarcerated, raped by this war on drugs, it was all paid for in your tax dollars. The CIA set up the drug routes. They set up the drug routes. Don't blame the poor people in the hood that are in prison to this in the trailer parks. You need to blame yourself, because when you look in that mirror, you've been supporting this the whole damn time, and so have I. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the whole humility thing is easy when you're willing to be honest. When you're willing to have some integrity and say, wow, I get it. I was lucky. That's why I say I stole white people privilege. I stole their privilege and I ran. I was just born in that spot. I was born in a decent enough spot where I could see the matrix. So I have no reason to abuse them. I am not going to abuse them, no matter what you say. Everybody has a unique individual story, and it doesn't matter if they got 2 fingers, 8 fingers, white skin, black skin, hair, a penis, or a vagina. None of that matters. The only thing matters are each and everybody's individual story. That's all that matters. We're born in a spot and we're lucky or we're not. And we can either be arrogant and say, yeah, I did this, I built this, I did this. That was the only thing that Obama said that was really true because I never really listened to his speeches. That was true. He says, you didn't build that business. We built that. We as a family, not as a government, not as the United States Incorporated, that's just a corporation. We as a family, we all working together. Because all the technology you built it on, you didn't make that technology. You know, when you say that, you sound as bad as the corporations and these patents that they didn't create this stuff. They stood on the back of giants. We all lucked into position. The technology was here, and we stood on the back of giants, arrogantly acting like we did this. That's why I'm okay with sharing with people. You know, people say, "Oh, well, you know, you're gonna grow food and give it away." I will if I have to. I mean, shoot, I'd like to get a penny for a tomato if I can, but this ain't mine. I lucked up. I literally have a social contract obligation to the people in my world to share what I have with them because I was lucky. I was lucky. That's all it was. But a lot of people who look like me weren't. And a lot of people who don't look like me weren't. G handing out pudding after class before nap time. Well, no pudding, Jonathan Close. That is a carcinogen. It's got sugar in it. That's another weapon and quiet weapon for silent wars. They're giving people carcinogens and they can't figure out where the disease is coming from. Is easy. Just watch the TV commercials. I didn't see that. Not sure about Paris. Watch France maybe. What happened? Try Tresha. Are y'all having a conversation? Remember that scene how somebody, you know what I'm reading? I didn't know what y'all talking about. I don't actually read the comment. I don't read them ahead of time and form points and nothing. This is just a conversation. If you're the first time watching, all we do is discuss. Oh, damn, an industry just like the poverty industrial complex. Ooh, military and prison. Sandra Weiss, thank you for that statement. Yes, the poverty industrial complex, they literally make people poor. They make people poor through artificial scarcity. They take resources from them. And I think it's our position as adults in this conversation to finally say, the kids are fighting in the street over artificial scarcity. It ain't got nothing to do with George Floyd. They're Manchurian candidates and they got a legitimate gripe. They do not know how to fix that gripe because they think they have a government. And they can't figure out why the government doesn't do anything for them. Why the government does everything for corporations and billionaires and Wall Street. Wall Street started looting 3 months ago and they gave these people a $1,200 tax credit. And the kids are flipping out. I think that's the position for the adult, like a teacher walks into a classroom after a fight. And the teacher doesn't look and just pick and choose who did it already based on her bigotry. She'll look at the kids and she'll talk to this kid and what happened was, and go to the other kid and what happened was, and then they go to the third party kid. Okay, well, this is the truth. This is how this works. We got to stop being bigots, y'all. We got to stop being birth bigots. Stop choosing a side. You don't need to choose a side. When you choose a side, that's how you hold the plantation up. Woo! Goodness gracious. A system built off separatism and genocide can't be a humanity-based system. It was broken from the beginning. It was designed this way, Tina Haplin. It was literally designed this way. It was designed to raise children to have enough hate where they could burn down cities. And that's what they're doing. But we can stop that by removing the hate. We can stop that by giving them a future, but that's only if you have a government. The people can force the government to do that, which is a corporation. It's a governing corporation, don't get me wrong. However, power concedes nothing without demand. The people have to stand up and demand it. When they know that you're not believing in the system anymore, you can move forward. Susie, what's that? Hashtag Black Lives Matter. All people are welcome. Susie, and this is where we disagree. Like I said, I disagree. When George Soros with the black elite and whoever else, the billionaires, whoever picked that name, they knew what they were doing, Susie. They knew exactly what they were doing. the very basis of the word black, I can't get down with. That's a slave name. I'm not a slave. That was a name given to a beast of burden. You know, and I get there are a lot of great people in Black Lives Matter, and I say that all the time. However, the label within itself, Soros knows what he was doing with that label. He knew what he was doing when he gave them $100 million. All right. There are too many white men being shot in the street to carry that name, y'all. We have to. It's like the art of war. You got to figure out how you're being played psychologically. Just the name alone is going to prevent people from syncing up with you. I mean, to a degree, I don't like the name All Lives Matter either. Why do we even have to have a group with a name, though? I don't understand that. Why can't we just be human beings and say, you know what? It doesn't really matter. Everybody's unique individual experience is valid. Once you table the money, you are bought and sold. Well, yeah, when you need that money, Kentucky Fried Mama, when you need the money, that's how you break people, because the money was placed between human beings and survival. And this is why you got a black elite that have no love in their heart like a white elite. They are good on them microphones, but I don't listen to them. Kentucky Fried Mama, like I watch people, they're posting all these speeches and stuff, and I see people yelling and screaming and rooting Ron and got the dashikis and all. I don't fall for that no more. I get it now. You made a career off of oppressing me. You just want me on your slave plantation, not on theirs. And how do I know? It's because everybody who's out there yelling and screaming at Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't got nothing to do with none of this. None of this. I mean, I think he's trying to profit in his own way, same with the black elite and Obama and everybody else, but they don't control the system. They don't control racism. There's nothing that they can do. It's like apples and oranges. We need to talk about race in America. Donald Trump, click, and I just turn off because I already know that it's just political. It's politics. Like the young brother said right there, it's like when you know what's wrong with the world, you know politics is not an answer for anything. It's not an answer for anything. It actually is the tool they use to cause all the problems. The minute that you show me that you're looking for votes is the minute you say the word Donald Trump in my ear. In a world that's always oppressed the weakest people and the lowest on a socioeconomic range. That used to be women. At times it was blacks. At times it was Irish. At other times it was Italian. Everybody's been there. Everybody's been through slavery. That's why I understand why we want to keep this world where nobody has free will, where there is no sovereignty, where we have a democracy, where we give the system sovereignty and we take it from our children. I don't understand that. And yes, Christine, it's all politics. That's all it is. No labels. We have to throw those away. And that's a good solution right there. Because you know what is the only thing that the system fears? It just fears you working with other people. As long as you're willing to fight with some other poor people, another class, you're good to go. But the minute you say, you know what? Nah, we're not going to do this no more. We're just going to give all the land and the water back to the people. And in fact, we might even use robots and automation to feed people so they can just go live their lives and be free. The minute you say that, you are domestic terrorist enemy number one of the state. And by state, I mean slave plantation. Nature is truthful, no contradiction there. It is truthful, Sandy, and there's no contradiction. Nature works. Nature's been working for billions of years. Nature's been our best example. Everything in nature has an ecosystem, and societies and GDPs and economies guarantee that not all people have ecosystems. They don't have their land and their water. All right. I'm gonna start to wrap this up, read a couple more comments, and I'm gonna get out of here. Sorry I got all serious this morning. It bothered me. It bothers me because kids are dying. That's why we have to stop pulling the punches. We'll sit back for a little bit. We can't sit back anymore. This is about to really get serious. This plan that they have, that they're playing both sides, it's gonna blow up in our face and they're gonna get what they want. I think this is the generation, because of the desperation of the system, this is the generation that's going to determine the future of the human race, whether we're going to continue to be slaves, giving sovereignty to systems and billionaires who own it, or giving that sovereignty back to the people. We are that generation. You know, we didn't pick the time, but we live in the time. We're either going to act like it or we aren't. So yeah, I do the best that I can from what I see to give my perspective. And I'll be honest with you, there are a couple of them. You know, I mean, I don't like the word black leader. I don't like that at all because nobody leads people with black skin. That's stupid. That actually makes no sense. But the only one dark melanin more that I kind of followed and I think was as honest with everybody as what he could be was Dick Gregory. And he's rough around the edges. That brother is rough. Oh, he was rough around the edges, but he didn't have all the information we had today. He was the only one who stayed on top of the sellout leaders of the civil rights movement that turned their back on Martin Luther King for Lyndon Johnson, the ones that are behind the highest levels of the DNC right now. And it's not, I mean, GOP is no better. I'm just saying that those are who those people are. The ones that get out there on Martin Luther King's birthday and start reading his speeches, those are the ones who are working with Lyndon Johnson. If you know that story, if you don't know who Dr. Pepper is, look him up. Dr. Pepper was the one who, and I won't go through it. I won't go through it. Bottom line is that we're all complicit. They were all complicit. Lyndon Johnson was making too much big money from the Vietnam War, and he refused to let Martin Luther King talk about the poor Vietnamese and the poor whites. And so they conspired with the tops in the civil rights movement to murder Martin Luther King. And they did. And right after that, they threw out everything he, Fred Hampton, and Malcolm X and the end of their lives taught so that they could be your new leadership, so they could build the new slave plantation for you to be on, so they could create the next generation's chattel slave Manchurian candidates. Right? That was what I was talking to somebody not too long ago. I said modern slavery is the same as slavery from the past. There ain't nothing changed. She said, oh no, it's changed because that was chattel slavery. That was a sister, her and I used to get into it back in the day. I said, no, it's no different. And now we have the science to know why. Because we're making Manchurian youth, and the youth who have parents in the prison system usually go into the prison system. That's chattel. That's the same generation after generation after generation, and we keep making Manchurian candidates through the Prussian education system to make warriors for kings in the state, not individual free will children to go off and be who they need to be. Every black mom has to warn their sons, you will be a target. Yes, Susie Rosenberg, as well as every white mom, as well as every yellow mom, as well as every red mom, because we literally live on a slave plantation. And it doesn't give two damns about the color of your skin, but it knows that we do. And it uses us for that. Democracy is a two-system paradigm charade. Anarchy is chaos and violence. All others lead to oligarchical collectivism. A few white old men reply. Okay, so now we disagree on that, Walter. No, we disagree. No, and democracy is what you see out in the streets right now. And anarchy is, don't get me wrong, anarchism can lead to anarchy. And democracy can lead to anarchy in terms of that definition of the word. But an anarchist is someone who believes in sovereignty, and sovereignty never ends in violence because you have natural law. You got the rules of force and violence. And to us, as anarchists, violence is violation. It's always wrong. It doesn't matter for what reason, how, when, why. It's impossible for an anarchist to ever be in a war. It's impossible for an anarchist to ever burn down a building. It's not their building. It's impossible because it's a violation of the core belief system, right, of sovereignty. That's Sandra's business. That's Sandra's land. I can't do anything. That's Rebecca's body. I can't touch that. I can't put a needle in that. I can't inject it. I can't do those things, right? But democracy, it completely allows for a path to violence. It doesn't have any problem with violence. As long as the majority rules the mob gang rape, then it's good to do that because the majority agrees with it. In anarchism, no, we have the belief in sovereignty, which is everybody's sovereign, which means we can't abuse you. That's a violation. But the rule of force is authorized when people bring you violence. That's the only time that you'll get any violence out of us. I posted a good video on that yesterday, Walter. You should, take a look at it, because words are how they screw us. And that's why the media is yelling and screaming, oh, it's anarchy in the street. And to some definitions, it kind of makes some sense, but those are not anarchists. Those are democracyists. They're people who group together with other people and they were turned into Manchurian candidates from birth to go burn down cities because they were told to by the same people that killed JFK, Martin Luther King, and were behind 9/11. those people are still in power. And as long as they stay in power, we're going to keep repeating this cycle. It's the same script playing out in each country. We haven't riots here, but who knows what they have planned next. There are 5,000 on the streets here for BLM in Ireland. It's all scripted. Oh, that's crazy, Trisha. I didn't know, but I'm glad that you say that. And that's why it's important to talk to people from around the world, because the global billionaires are rolling out the same plan. I mean, these people are genius and they're brilliant, but they damn sure like to repeat. They'll do things over and over and repeat them in country after country because it works. But when you start talking across the lines, then that's when you can start to figure out what actually is going on. Right? I disagree with Brother Walter on that definition of anarchy, but he is right. He's right about Zionism. He is completely right about this global scheme that they have to topple the world. So I don't know if in Ireland it'll blow up into what it is here today, but here they need to control America. They need to break America's back to get the people to beg for the cure, to beg for contact tracing, to beg for a new digital currency, to beg for social credit scores, basically to beg for the biggest prison, open air prison on the planet, the biggest plantation. They need them to beg for it. And that's why they're breaking America. And people will do it because they're scared. When people are scared, they will beg for it. And so I think if they can grab the world's reserve currency and turn the people who work for it directly into a slave plantation that they can use as their tool, how they always been doing for the past 100 or so years, 149 years, it'll be 150 years next week, or I mean next year, then they won't have to worry about Ireland, because Ireland will capitulate to the American government. I mean, Ireland capitulates to the British government, right? All they need is everybody on the same accord. Their whole goal is world domination. You know, any way they can get there, that's what they'll do. 87,000 a year, contact teacher starting, or contact tracer or teacher, starting salary in New York City. Right, Kentucky Fried Mama, and people will go for it. They will go sign up to be the new Nazis. They have no issue in that, which is interesting because Prussia is Germany. And that was the beginning of the German education system that came from Prussia, right? That's where the Nazis came from. And so, yeah, when you develop children that basically worship teachers, that adhere to authority, and they're brainwashed to believe that authority is correct, always better than their own critical thought, then yes, you will absolutely get that. And you put that job out there to work for the state and make 87,000 a year, oh, hell yeah, to do that. Hell yeah, to do that. All right, I'm about to jump off of here, mainly for the big reason of we need to free the human race. And you ain't gonna never free the human race by making children, breaking them and making them into Manchurian candidates, and then blaming them for being activated like a terrorist cell, being broken by adults. And because Del Bigtree is on it. If you don't watch Del Bigtree, you need to. The brother is on it. He's just blowing the spot up. He's been telling the truth from the very beginning. Once again, trust people who turn on the prophet. Trust people who are professional in their own study, that turn on the money, and basically take vows of poverty to tell the people the truth. From free energy to virologists to scientists to doctors to nurses to the people in the education system. All right, what's that? You know, we're on G. Yes, it is, Trisha, and George Carlin said it best. New World Order has a website now. Rebecca Costello, and we could just stop right there. That's all we had to do. All you have to say is New World Order actually has a website. You know, all the crazy conspiracies. The New World Order is coming. And who was it? Alex Jones, one of them. Beware the globalists. The globalists. And he went into the the multi-dimensional sex molesters of children or something like that. But he would always talk about the globalists and the New World Order. And now they have a freaking website. A website. They literally have a website where they're talking about freedom. You will never have freedom in a New World Order, because order and law is the exact opposite of human freedom and free will. All right, I gotta go. It's Gerard. Y'all have a great day. Love y'all now. I'm out. Bye-bye. Make sure you watch Del. Tune in.